day out there to all my listeners, and I'd like to welcome you to Is Your Way in Your Way podcast. And I'm your host, and my name is Cassandra Crawley, Mayo. For those new listeners out there, I just wanted to let you know I had an interesting question before I start this podcast. Is somebody wanted to know why did I start it? And I thought that was it. No one has ever asked me that. And I started it because I was in my way. I had so many limiting beliefs that have mitigated, that had prevented me from moving forward with what I believe my life was ordained to do. Like, number one, I always wanted to write a book, and it took me forever to write a book because of those limiting beliefs. And I just want to share with you all that are new to talk to you about, first of all, before we dive in, I wanted to take a moment, and I've not done that, is to thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of the Is Your Way in Your Way community. Actually, this is becoming a movement. And this podcast is all about helping you move past these barriers so you can truly design and start living your best life on your terms. In other words, we're going to get honest about what's holding you back. So I say that to say, if pain, if you're holding on to pain, confusion, unanswered questions, grief, know that you're not alone, and help is on the way. So let's step into this moment together. Now, I'd like to share with you that we talk about topics related to personal improvement, self improvement, sometimes business improvement, and also it's topics that that will, I say, will enable you to do some self-reflection. You may hear a topic that's holding you back, and so I want you to just be real with yourself, be really open with yourself, so that you can start healing yourself, if that's what it's going to take for you to start living your best life. So today, our topic is about biggest misconceptions people have about grief. And I'm going to introduce you to our guest. Her name is Ligia Houben. Hello, Ligia. How are you?
How are you, Cassandra? This is so special to be in your show today.
Thank you so much. I am so glad to have you in the show today. I'd like to read your bio because I want my listeners to understand what qualifies you to talk about this subject about grief. What's the biggest misconception that people have? So, Licia Houben, she is a grief specialist. She's a thanatologist, and I'm going to have her explain what that means. Life transitions coach and author, whose life's mission is to help others move from pain to healing. Sparked by the loss of her father at age 12 and later her mother, she created the 11 principles of transformation to guide others through loss with love and resilience. Her internationally acclaimed work, including her newest book, Allow Me to Live My Grief and Heal from the Inside Out, offers hope and practical tools for those navigating life's most challenging transitions. Oh, so Licia, let me ask you this: what is thanatologist? What does that mean? I even had to look that up. What is that?
Thank you. Well, yes, you are so right that we are not familiar with that word
Mhm.
because, as you may know, Cassandra, we live in a death denial society. So we do not
Mhm.
use that word much. Thanatos is death in Greek. So thanatology is
Mm.
the study of death and dying. So
Okay.
thanatologist, it's someone who has specialized in death and dying. Yeah.
Wow, this is going to be great. Someone that has specialized in death and life. Wow. Well, let me ask you, what I know that your father, we talked about that, had passed when you were at a young age. What else inspired you to be a grief specialist, life transition coach, and a thanatologist? Share your personal story and how it inspired you to do so.
thank you for the opportunity because this is so close to my heart. So close to my heart to be able to help others going through grief and loss. And I will tell you, how did I discover my mission, my
Yes.
purpose in life?
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
studying, I live in Miami, Florida, and I was studying at the University of Miami. I was
Mm-hmm.
studying psychology, and then I wanted to add another major, religious studies, because there was a course, in that department that attracted me like a magnet, Cassandra, like a magnet. And it
Mm.
was death and dying. And
Wow.
death and dying. So when I took that course, it opened not only my eyes, but my heart. Because
Mm.
that's when I realized that I have not fully grieved the loss of my beloved father. So
Okay.
each time I went to class, I would cry. And I would
Mm.
cry, and because I had not faced, the word death and dying and grief. And I was like, grief? What is grief?
Mm.
All these things came to
Right.
me so strongly that that's when I decided in that classroom. So it was a blessing in disguise, right? When we say that,
Yeah.
I discovered in that classroom, wow, I want to do this. This is my mission in life. And
Mm.
that's how I, developed into my studies and all that. I became a thanatologist. I
Mm.
specialized in grief. And then my other passion, if you will, is
Sure.
working with older adults. I
Okay.
love older adults. So
Mm-hmm.
I also study gerontology, which is
Mm.
the study of aging. And that's
Yes.
why I mentioned life transitions, because we go through so many transitions in life. One of
Yeah.
them, of course, is aging, taking
Right.
care of our aging parents. So I put together, you know, my way of working with people is moving through transitions. And if in
Mm.
one of those transitions there is grief, there is loss, so we work together, we use the resources we have inside, because we all do, and then
Mhm.
to be able to transform that loss and transform our lives.
Mm. Well, let's talk about grief. Is grief only about losing a loved one?
Absolutely no. And that
Okay.
is, and thank you for asking that, because that is a huge misconception that it
Mm-hmm.
is only when we lose a loved one. Because,
Okay.
when people knew that I was doing this, that I was starting, to work in the field, they would say, like, Ligia, you're going to be working, with the death of a loved one. People think, like, how depressing. And I'm like, depressing? First, on the contrary, this is so sacred. This is from heart to heart when you
Mm-hmm.
work with people losing a loved one. Now, we want to open our minds to other types of losses, Cassandra.
Sure.
There is the loss of when you lose your partner through divorce or a
Yeah.
breakup. There is
Yeah.
the loss of health when we,
Mm.
develop a health condition and illness. There is
Yes.
the loss of a job, when we lose our job. There is a
Mm-hmm.
loss when we experience natural disasters, and
Yes.
we may lose our home. These are things that are tangible, like
Yeah.
things happen. However, we may also lose hope. We may
Yes.
also lose a sense of security. That happens when we went through COVID, the pandemic. We
Yes.
experienced so many types of losses, Cassandra. Loss
Yes.
from the
True.
concept of what safety meant,
Yeah.
when the concept of our assumptive world, the world we knew, it
Mm-hmm.
shattered. So
Yes.
all those things, and so many, there are different types of losses, and we
Yeah.
don't talk about it, because sometimes people say, I am depressed.
Yeah.
I'm depressed. And then we start talking about losses, and we do a history of losses. And then what they realize is that what they are grieving the
Mm-hmm.
loss that they experienced.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With your study with thanatologists, what is it that my listeners can learn from that particular study that you've done, and because you're a thanatologist?
Okay. Thanatology is the study of death and dying under different, because we can study death under
Right.
so many different concepts. But when
Mm-hmm.
we talk about the sociological perspective, is in how we see death in society. So we start
Okay.
seeing that how it has changed, from other times. For example, Cassandra,
Mm-hmm.
before people die at home,
Yeah.
people
Mm.
would die at home. They would even build the caskets. The family would build the
Oh,
caskets. They would
right.
place the caskets, what they would call the parlor. You know, they would be
Yeah.
like a living room. You know
Yeah.
that when my father died, I was living in Nicaragua back then, and we had the wake. We had it at home.
Uh-huh.
We had it in the living room at home. So, but we're talking about medieval times that was so different. That
Yeah.
when people died, the family would be surrounding the dying person. So, what happens with time and technology and medicine and all that? That sometimes, and it is a blessing that so many things can be done now. However, there has been a distance with death. There has been a distance. And that's why now that we have hospice, that way, that philosophy of care, that
Mm-hmm.
it's when, you take care of the dying patient, the dying person, and the family. And the idea is to keep them comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
not to extend life, but keep them comfortable. And
Right.
many times you have hospice. I had it with my mom. You have hospice at home, so people die at home. So we
Right.
we talk about all these different aspects, of
Mm-hmm.
death. We talk about the culture. For example, the Hispanic culture, you may know about how Mexicans, they celebrate the Day of the Dead,
Mm.
El Día de
Okay.
los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. And
Uh-huh.
it is a very unique ritual that they have, Mexicans. We do not have it in Nicaragua. So it's
Oh,
very unique to that particular culture. Have you ever watched the movie Coco?
no, I have not.
Cassandra, I totally recommend it to you and all the beautiful people who are watching us.
Mhm.
Coco, and it's a animated movie, but it shows you the culture. It shows you, what happens the Day of the Dead, and it has to do a lot with how people grieve. It is beautiful. It is such a
How do you
beautiful.
how do you spell that?
Okay, it's Coco. Coco.
Oh, oh, T as in Tom.
No, C as in Charles.
Okay, Coco. Okay,
Coco.
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 Okay,
And
okay.
it's amazing. It's beautiful. So we learn through different things, about
Mhm.
death and dying. We also talk, because it's interesting. I learned about this, about my mission, when I took that course on death and dying. And
Okay,
eventually, after many years, I happened to teach it at the university. I
okay.
taught death and dying. And the way that I taught that class was, yes, it was about death. However, I emphasized life. I,
Mhm.
I said it to my students that the more aware we are
Mhm.
that we are going to die, that our
Mhm.
loved ones are going to die,
Uh-huh.
we may give even more meaning to life, you know.
Mm.
And we would live with more gratitude, more love, more ability to forgive. And it was a beautiful course because I taught it several times, and then I taught it online for another university. But that's what I did with my students, for them to be aware, and they will
Yeah.
share that the topic of death, it was a taboo in their families. People
Okay.
people wouldn't talk about it.
Well, let me ask you, based on your education in that field and even teaching it, what are some of the things that my listeners could learn from your teaching and your knowledge that you don't think they're really aware of?
The importance of talking about it. It's not going to happen because that's one of the greatest taboos, that people think that if we're going to be talking about it, it may happen, about death. And
Okay.
it is something that people have what we call sometimes thanatophobia, which is
Mm,
fear of death. So
okay.
something that we talk about is the importance of to start having the conversation, start
Okay.
having the conversation about
Mhm,
death, because
mhm,
it is something that happens to us. It's part of life. It's the
mhm,
end of life. And it
mhm.
depends so much our attitude, how we take it. Because sometimes if we push it away, if we put it on the shelf, it's
Yeah.
more present. The fear is more present. However, if we if we talk about it, then we can have that conversation. There are
Okay.
different concepts based on your religion as well. Religion has a big impact on how we see death and dying. And for
Mhm.
example, the concept of the afterlife, the
Mm,
concept of what happens near death experience. You may have heard about NDE.
yes, I
So,
have.
what happens then? Because it is based on so many studies. So, all
Mhm.
these things, many people, when they are grieving and they learn about NDE, that gives them hope because they feel that they're going to connect with their loved ones again, after
Okay.
they die.
Mhm.
They're going to come and, and greet them. So, there's so many concepts. We also talk about suicide in that course and the
Yeah.
importance to again have the conversation because it
Mhm.
is a taboo. People don't talk about it even
Mhm.
when they experience that loss. That is such a painful loss. I have clients who have lost loved ones to suicide and they
Mhm.
tell me, Ligia, people don't even want to ask me how I feel because they
Mhm.
don't even want to touch the subject. And people
Mhm.
need to be seen, people need to be heard, and to have that conversation. And if
Mhm.
someone, so I remember that's something that we said, based on the textbook and what we talked about. If someone mentions the idea that I don't want to live anymore, I want to kill myself, all those things, many
Yeah.
people say, I don't say that, don't say those things. No, if they are saying that, you want to hold the space. You want
Okay.
to allow them to talk about that because
Okay.
you don't know if they already have a plan. You don't know.
Right.
So
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
it's important, Cassandra, to talk about these things. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. And they don't, as you indicated, because it's like it's taboo, or like you talk about depression or suicide, and everybody is different in regards to the death of suicide. There sometimes people, we don't know what to say. And I remember I had a relative whose father passed, and I went and visited, like my parents did. I did what they did, and I asked the question, was there anything I could do? And she looked at me like I was crazy, and I sincerely meant that. And I talked to my mom. She says, you just do, because when it happens, people don't know what to do. Just kind of be there. You need to give them their space, feel them out, because if you ask somebody, it's like, okay, and don't say time will heal. You don't know, so that's why people are at odds of, how do I respond to that? From your experiences, how have you responded, or any thoughts on responding to someone who's lost a loved one? Now, we already talked about, you can lose a job, you can lose a divorce, a breakup, all of those things. But at this moment, we're talking about grief. We're talking about the grieving in regards to the loss of a loved one, because that's what your education, your knowledge, that's what you've taught. And so, share with us, what are some ways or some thoughts you have on how you would respond to someone who's in a loved one committed suicide, or a loved one who's lost someone? How would you respond? Or is there no certain response?
Thank you for the question because those things, when you mentioned time will heal, and it's what we call euphemisms. People say things like to soften, and to make it sound better, and all those things. And people sometimes bring religious concepts. They are in heaven now, they're with God now, they are resting, they
Mm-hmm.
they were suffering, all these things. And or even the I'm sorry, many
Mm-hmm.
people don't like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
because I working with my clients, I went through the loss of my mom 5 years
Sure.
ago and my sisters 2 years ago. So
Mm-hmm.
it's the best thing that we can do, and that's what I say, because, and I mean it with my heart. It's like, I accompany you. My heart is with you. I accompany you with my love.
Mm-hmm.
I am here. So the
Mm-hmm.
presence, it's important. The presence is important.
Okay.
Not trying to fix them,
Right.
because we cannot fix the bereaved. We cannot fix the bereaved. We
Okay.
can only accompany the bereaved.
Okay. Okay. That's good.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And when something, for example, as you said before, is there something I can do? And there are so many things we can do.
Mm-hmm.
However, the griever doesn't come and say it to you if they need you. They don't.
Right.
It's very rare that they would do
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
what is great, that helps a lot, is if we are aware of the needs they may have. For example, you have a friend that lost her husband and has two kids, you know. So you know that she takes them to school. Let's say that they don't ride the bus.
Mm-hmm.
She takes them to school. So you know that she has to do that. And
Right.
after losing the husband, most likely that's the last thing she wants to do. So
Right.
you come and said, you know what? For the next month, I'll be taking your children to school.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Yes.
are offering something specific,
Right.
something that she will be so grateful. Or
Yeah.
you can say, for the next month, I'll be doing
Mm-hmm.
your groceries. you know
Yeah. That's good.
so things
Mhm.
like those, then
Sure.
that is, specific, and they would totally appreciate it. Because you know what, now that I mentioned that, one of the things that can be the most painful, incredible, it's going to the supermarket after
Mm-hmm.
losing your loved one.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I've heard that. I remember when I experienced it
Yeah.
after my mom, because I was my mom's caretaker. Because Cassandra, my mother, was a centenarian. She died when she was 100 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yes, she
Right.
was. She was the
Yeah.
apple of my eye. And so I
Mhm.
remember after she died that I went to Publix. Here is the very well known chain of supermarkets. And I would love to buy for her, pudding or jello,
Mhm.
those things.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
remember the first time I saw that. Oh, I would bring her in her wheelchair, and people loved her because she was super sweet. She would talk to everybody, and they would
Yeah.
bring her. They would bring her donuts. So the first time I went, and they were like, "And your mommy and your mom," and just by the question, I would say, she died, and sometimes people felt so bad that they
Yeah.
asked, you know. But
Mhm.
going to the grocery can be very painful the first time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about you have 11 principles for transformation of into from pain into hope, strength, and renewal. Let's talk about those principles.
Those principles are, I love the principles, and I'll tell you how they were born. When I wrote my first book about grief, it's
Yes.
called Transform Your Loss, Your Guide to Strength and Hope. When I
Mhm.
was writing that book, I talk about what losses are, as you said, not only death, how grief is manifested, because it is not only through crying. It can
Mhm.
be expressed physically, headaches, migraines, even backache,
Yeah.
insomnia, so many ways to be expressed socially, isolating, or going out, not stopping. Um, emotionally, of course, different emotions, anger,
Mhm.
sadness, guilt. Spiritually, sometimes getting angry with God, getting angry with
Sure.
life.
Yes.
Or on the other hand, you can find meaning. So, because again, grief is unique. And so I was writing the book. It has 60 real stories. But then I said, I want to give something to the reader. I want to give them tools to help them. And that's
Mhm.
how they came to be, the 11 principles. I started writing them, and then there were 11. And touched my heart because I just stopped then, right?
Okay.
And it touched my heart because my father died on November 11.
Okay.
So when that happens 11, I'm like, oh my God, they were close to my heart. So I
Hmm.
created them, and it's a methodology. It's registered, and also as a methodology, I have done seminars. I do seminars, workshops, online programs with that. And what is the purpose? The purpose is to help people, take them from the beginning when they are facing a loss,
Hmm.
painful, and we know that the hardest thing is to accept what happened.
Okay.
However, what is the contrary of accepting? Denying, resisting. How are we going to heal if we are resisting, if we are denying? So the
Hmm.
first one is accept your loss. And
Okay.
that by itself, it's a process. And then
Uh-huh.
that's the first one. And acceptance is not that you don't care about it, that's okay. No,
Sure.
it's coming to terms with the fact, the reality. This has happened. That is horrible. That is super painful. Yes, it is. It
Right.
happened. So that's the first principle. The second one is because I acknowledge that there is pain. The second one is live your grief. Live your grief. It is
Live.
what has happened because grief is the natural and unique response to loss. So
Hmm.
that, however, with time, I realize that many people either they don't give themselves permission to grieve,
Mm.
and they want to jump the second principle,
Right.
or society or family would say, no, 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 yeah, it's enough time to, stop crying, stop
Right.
talking about them. That's
Yeah.
about time let go of your black clothes, whatever.
Hmm.
And if they are young, it's about time you start dating again.
Oh,
So, no, no, I hear so many things, Cassandra. And
right.
if they lost a baby, oh, but you're young, you can have another baby. Oh, but I lost this one. So,
Right.
so many things. But sometimes it is really hard to live the grief. That's why
Right.
I called my latest book, Allow Me to Live My Grief.
Right.
And
No
heal,
time limit on it. Right. No
exactly. And
time limit.
then and
Mhm.
then heal from the inside out, because that's what it is. That's another misconception, that people think that if you are grieving, it's gonna be worse. No, I was so mindful when I lost my mom, and as I
Mhm.
said, she was the apple of my eye. But I
Yeah.
was so mindful grieving the loss of my mom that I would never be how I am, and like this I am, so years ago, right? Because
Right.
I was so present to my
Mhm.
grief. So
Right.
that's the second principle. Then the third is expand your develop your spiritual dimension. And when I say spiritual, I am not talking about being religious. If you are religious, beautiful. However, I talk about being spiritual, the value of being grateful, of being able to forgive, of loving. Those are the three spiritual tools I believe they're so powerful in our
So
life.
what was the third? Expand your what?
No, develop your spiritual dimension.
Oh, okay. Dimension. Okay.
Dimension. All these
Okay.
are, if you go to my website,
Sure. Okay.
ligiahouben.com, there it says
Mhm.
about, the 11 principles, and there they are
Okay.
all stated there.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Mhm.
And then the fourth one is express your feelings.
Mhm.
Express how you feel. Get rid of the mask. Stop
Mhm.
pretending. Express how you feel.
Mhm.
Number five is share with others.
Mhm.
Share with others. We are not an island. It's so important. The support, social support, so important.
Yeah.
Number six is take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because it happens, Cassandra. It may have happened to you. I don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we just don't feel like taking care of ourselves after losing
Yes.
a loved one. We don't.
Yes.
And it's so
Yeah.
important. So that
Mm-hmm.
would be number 6. Number 7, doing rituals. Because rituals help us. Rituals are symbolic, so they can help us. Number 8 is live the now, just like being mindful. Being mindful. Live the now. Don't dwell in the past. Don't worry about the future. I don't say don't plan the future. That's different.
Mm-hmm.
But worrying is different. So don't
Mm-hmm.
worry about the future. Live the now, because the now is the only thing we have.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
so that would be number 8. Number 9, which I love it because I work a lot with that, modify your thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
because
Okay.
we are able to change our thoughts. We may
Mm-hmm.
not be able, of course, to change events. However, something that we can always change 100% of the time are our thoughts. And
Okay.
I've been talking about this, Cassandra, for over 20 years. And I am always say that, I believe in that and all that. When
Okay.
I when I confirmed it, was the most painful time in my life, after my mother died. It had been the greatest loss was my father, then my mom, but I was able to change my thoughts, and I was taken by that. I was like, "Oh my God, this really works." Because thoughts, emotions, actions,
Mm-hmm.
based on how we think, we feel, and
Mm-hmm.
based on how we feel, we act. And
Mm-hmm.
I applied that so much after validating how I felt. I always validated how I felt. Then I would choose the emotion I wanted to feel. And
Okay.
generally, it was peace. I love
Okay.
peace. So I wanted to feel peace because, yes, we can feel grief. We can feel sad. Yes, missing
Yeah.
them. And at the same time, we can be in peace.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. So that
Mm-hmm.
helped me a lot, my
Okay.
thoughts. Then
Okay.
number 10 is rebuild the world, rebuild your world. So you build again your world after you have included loss in that world, because it is part of your story. We cannot erase it. It happened. So we rebuild it again. It's like when they say picking up the pieces.
Yeah.
Aha. So we rebuild it. And then number 11 is visualize the life you want,
Mm. Okay.
because
Wow.
it's a choice. It's a choice how we want to live. And one of the things I ask people, when we do the seminars, okay, I ask, please raise your hand if you want to be happy. And people
Yeah.
want to be happy. So that
Yeah.
is the first thing that has to be present if you want to live a better life. That
Mm-hmm.
the will, the desire, I want to be happy. And when
Mm-hmm.
we do that, we can bring then our purpose, the meaning, the purpose,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can visualize that life.
Mm-hmm. There were two principles I want to expound on. One was rituals. Can you describe like a ritual? Like what do you mean by having a ritual? Give me an example of a ritual.
Okay, thank you. Because rituals are doing something that has special meaning to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example, something
Mm-hmm.
so simple. We have dinner, well, supposedly, we have dinner every day, every night. We have
Okay.
dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is a dinner or lunch, depending how you celebrate, that happens every year that has a special meaning. Which one is that?
The, uh,
We
uh,
have a dinner that happens once a year that is very symbolic, and we
yeah,
celebrate,
it could be Easter, Christmas.
or Thanksgiving.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. So that is a ritual.
Okay. All right. Just
Something
want.
that, an action that has special meaning. For
Okay.
example, you can come home, and if you are like me, that I love candles, you may come home and, just, you light a candle, It has a great smell, aroma, gives you an atmosphere. Fantastic. Okay.
Right.
But if
Okay.
you lost your loved one and you get home and you go and you light a candle in
Mm-hmm.
front of his picture and you say
Okay.
a prayer or you say
Okay.
some words, that is enriching.
Okay. Now let me talk about number 10. Did you say build your world?
Well, build it again, rebuild it.
Okay, what does that mean, reveal your world? Like
Okay,
how does one do that?
okay. Rebuild meaning building.
Mm-hmm.
You rebuild when
Uh-huh.
you are building something.
Uh-huh.
Because when we lose a loved one, and sometimes when we lose other things, our world feels that it shattered,
Mm-hmm.
that it's destroyed, that it's
Mm-hmm.
shattered.
Yeah.
So when you rebuild it, you are putting the pieces again. You put the foundation again. When I do the seminars and the activity that we do, because I love to do activities with each principle, the
Mm-hmm.
activities I do with them is I use Lego blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Lego blocks. So
Yeah.
it's like a metaphor.
Okay.
When they are, creating something with Lego blocks, they are building the same way they are building with Lego blocks.
Mm-hmm.
They can rebuild their life after a loss. So
Mm.
because when a loss happens, and you know this, Cassandra, it's the life we had before the loss,
Yeah.
the life we have now, and the life we'll have after a loss.
Okay.
So that's the life we are rebuilding with the loss inside of us.
Mm. Okay. Let's use Thanksgiving for a minute. I remember when my mom transitioned, and Thanksgiving was big, and that's where I used to always go. I was always out of town. I never moved back to where I grew up, but I would always go back to where my parents were. And Thanksgiving was tough for me because my mom was the matriarch of the family. So she was the one to get everybody together. So how could I rebuild my world around that particular holiday, for example?
Thank you. You make such amazing questions. Well, you can create new traditions. You
Okay.
can create new traditions. You
Hmm.
can honor if there's a specific dish that your mom liked. Did she cook?
Hmm. Yes.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
you can cook the special dish that she liked,
Okay.
honoring her. So
Okay.
you can find a recipe and you
Hmm.
can honor your mom
Mm.
just cooking that dish, having that recipe that she liked, and then
Okay.
you make it present. So
Okay.
because your mom, not physically, she's not physically, but she'll
Yeah.
always be there. So
Right.
that is something. Do you know what else you can do? You're going to love this. You're going to love this, Cassandra. And you can do this Thanksgiving
Hmm.
when you have, let's say that you have it at home. So you invite people, and then at the entrance of your house, I'm trying to see if I have something here. Okay, I want to show you something.
Okay.
I'm going to move this. No, well, I don't have to show it. I'm going to say it. It's
Okay.
not because I don't want to move this. It's a chest. You can place a chest at the entrance of your house.
Sure.
There on a table, you put a
Right.
chest, and
Hmm.
then or a box. But beautiful. Make it beautiful. Even you can
Hmm.
even decorate the box. You can go to Hobby Lobby and you can decorate it beautifully, and
Right.
then place it there on a table, and place some like these blank cards.
Yeah.
These blank cards with a pen next to them, and then you say, okay, write on that card something that you feel grateful for having my mom in your life. Something
Mm.
grateful about my mom.
Okay.
And
Hmm.
then everybody puts it inside of the
Box.
chest,
Yeah.
of the box. And then you have dinner, you have your Thanksgiving, you talk about, the recipe, the dish, mom, and you, beautiful. And then after you guys have dinner, with your family, then you go to the living room and you
Mm-hmm.
bring the box. So you
Mm.
place it in, there in the center, and then
Yeah.
you start reading the
Yeah.
different things.
Yeah.
That it's such a beautiful ritual. I have
Mm-hmm.
said this for many years because I do a seminar called Navigating the Holidays when we're grieving. And
Yeah.
that is one of the rituals I share with families that they can do, because we
Uh-huh.
do this navigating the holidays before Thanksgiving, because we know Thanksgiving, the holidays start with Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And we did it this year, November 2nd, at a funeral home. It
Mm-hmm.
was so beautiful. And
Mm-hmm.
I brought, examples. We did it
Yeah.
there. So people like that.
Yeah.
If
That's a
they do
great
it,
idea.
I have done it also,
Yeah.
personally,
Yeah.
and it's beautiful. We
Yeah.
love it, because then you read, all the things, how your mom touched different lives.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful because when we have funerals, homegoings, people call it different things. And just to hear the remarks makes you smile.
Yes. Ah,
What they did and, what the commonality about your loved one. And that does bring a smile and laughter to you. So I think that's an excellent idea around the holidays. And as you said, visualize your life. The last thing is, how 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 do you want to feel? So all these principles I thought were great, but no buts. The only thing I would just add is it's going to take time.
oh, yes.
Yeah, it'll take time, and if you really want to, I don't know if you ever get over the grieving. You're the grieve coach. I know my mom's been gone about 2 to 3 years now, and something happened the other day, and I just started crying. And I was like, oh my gosh. So it's like an ongoing thing, and it always will be for even my dad. So so that as you indicate, there's no time, like you said, live your grief. There's no timeline. No
No,
timeline.
there's no
Right.
timeline, and thank you for sharing that, because I mentioned that in my latest book, and Allow Me to Live My Grief, that Dr. Rosenblatt, he talks about recurrent grief. Grief is
Mm,
recurrent, you know,
yes.
and it doesn't have, okay, today I stopped grieving. It's not like that. We
Right.
we learn to live with our grief.
Yeah.
We learn to live with it. But we're
Yeah.
going to have sometimes a tsunami that appears out of nowhere. There
Exactly.
was a trigger, and then we
Yeah.
felt that, and then that's a huge tsunami. Some other times we
Exactly.
may have a small wave, you know,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's just there, but it's a companion. The moment that we let go of the fear of grief, that we
Mm,
understand it happens, and we learn how to live with that, we are able to move from a
yeah.
place of suffering to a
Yeah.
place of honoring with love.
Yeah. 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 And I also know that individuals that have lost a loved one, they also can find their purpose, or they'll also start realizing life is short. I better get going. Tomorrow could be my day. You
Yes.
know, so I like the what did I call it? I'm like, what is that word? What you do, the study of your thanatologist, that study about the living and the dead and how
No, it's a story of death and
life,
dying. Dying.
death and dying.
Dying. Yes.
Okay, okay. So that means the transition part is the dying,
Yes.
right? When, like you said, you have a passion for the elderly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's
Mm.
like I used to be before taking care of my mom when she got older. I was a Vitas volunteer. Vitas is a hospice, and it's when you accompany people when they're dying, that can be so sacred, and it's a process, and we
Yeah.
talk about what it is, the process, and what involves. So there's so many things, so
Yeah.
many things, but what I suggest so much to your audience, your beautiful audiences who's listening to this, to open the hearts, to
Mhm.
open the hearts to this reality that will happen to all of us,
Yeah.
including your loved ones, and to give more love, to
Yeah.
fight less, to to not to focus on problems and challenges, on no, to
Yeah.
open our hearts more to love.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day,
Exactly, right?
exactly. And in my book, I wrote, I didn't write it, but there was I got permission to write it called The Dash.
Oh,
And I don't know whether you've heard of that, but it's actually a phenomenal poem. And it talks more about what did you do during your dash? Not the
wow.
beginning, not the end. How do you want to be remembered? What's your legacy? So I thought that was great. To end on about the dying and the death, how you studied that, and just the work that you're doing around this, I think is beautiful. And many people will be blessed by what you've done and the outcomes that you've been providing for people, because death is inevitable. Like you said, we're all going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ligia, tell us again how we can contact you. How can you be contacted? Your website?
Yes, I have the website that is my name,
Mm-hmm.
ligiahouben.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I am also very present on social media, on Instagram, Facebook. Oh, I want to say something because I have a podcast. It's only audio, it is not video, and
Okay.
it's bilingual, you know,
Oh,
in
nice.
Spanish and
Okay.
English. And it's
Okay.
called Transforming Grief.
Okay. That's good to
Transforming
know.
Grief. It is in
Okay.
Spotify and in all audio platforms, and it consists of short messages
Mm-hmm.
between 6 to 15 minutes. They're
Okay.
short, on different topics
Okay.
regarding grief, different topics. And I have the same topic in English and Spanish, and they are titled. So if you go to the podcast, you may choose what you want to hear about.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
yes. So because what I wanted to do, and this was after my mom died, what I wanted to do is for the griever to feel accompanied,
Mm.
to feel accompanied and understood, validated. So
Yeah.
that's my purpose with the podcast. So I invite you, to listen to it, and
Sure.
to your audience to listen to that as well.
I am so glad that you said that, because I'm going to put that in the show notes that you're
Oh,
bilingual. Yeah, so that
exactly.
and
Yeah.
can hear it in Spanish and in English. One more question before we close. I live near a cemetery, and every now and then I'll hear people singing. And what I did hear that Hispanic, and I don't know how true this is, they will go to their loved one's grave and have a celebration and sing. Is that
Well, maybe they are Mexican. They may be
oh, okay, they
Mexican.
could be Mexican. Okay, all right.
Yes,
Okay.
how interesting you asked that. So you may want to, well, first check that movie I mentioned, Coco,
Okay.
because it's so cool. It's adorable, adorable. And
Okay.
then, to learn a little bit more about the Day of the Dead.
Okay.
It's
All right.
amazing. It's an incredible ritual they have, and it's so spiritual, so potent. Oh my God, they even make bread of the dead. So bread in the
Mm.
shape of a skeleton. No, it's amazing what they do.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Oh,
amazing what they do. So you're going to enjoy learning about that.
okay. And
Yeah.
Coco, right? Coco.
And Coco, exactly.
Okay. Well, Lydia,
Okay.
thank you so much. Licia, thank you so much for your time, your words of wisdom, enabling us to see what the misconception of grief is. And I'm certain that many of my listeners have learned a lot in regards to death, because they know too that one day they will be transitioning as well, in addition to their loved ones. So, like I always tell my listeners, to please, if you found this of value, which you have, I know, please share it with someone and bless them as well. And hit subscribe and click like. I would so much appreciate it. And sure, and Licia would do the same. Thanks again, Licia. Bye
Thank
for
you.
now.
Thank you
God,
so much. My
yes,
heart to you and all the blessings. Thank you.
thank you. God bless.